ready to unlock like a secret weapon for thinking.
Ooh, tell me more.
Today, we're diving into this idea of extended cognition.
Okay.
And trust me, it's way cooler than it sounds.
Right.
We've got research, anecdotes, the works, all pointing to how you can use your body,
Okay.
your surroundings, even other people,
Yeah.
to seriously boost your brain power.
Interesting.
Forget think harder. This is about thinking smarter.
I like it. It's fascinating, really.
Yeah.
We tend to think about our brains like these isolated computers.
Right.
But they evolved to work with the world around us, not just inside our skulls.
Right. Like, have you ever been totally stumped on a problem, then gone for a walk, and bam, the solution hits you?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That, my friend, is extended cognition in action.
It is, exactly. Annie Murphy Paul, in her book, The Extended Mind, calls this brain-bound thinking.
Okay.
We limit ourselves when we assume it's all about what's going on up here.
Yeah.
Expert speaker taps their forehead.
Oh, yeah. And she's got a point. It's like trying to write a symphony on a broken piano.
Right.
You need the right tools at the right environment.
You need all the pieces.
So let's ditch the brain in a jar myth.
Okay.
And explore how to actually use this extended mind stuff.
On game.
Starting with movement.
Okay. Movement is magic, isn't it?
I like it.
Even small movements throughout the day, like fidgeting or just shifting in your chair, have been shown to improve focus and productivity.
Wait, so those fidget spinners everyone was obsessed with?
Yeah.
Maybe they were onto something?
Perhaps. But on a more serious note, there's a reason you might pace while on a phone call.
Right.
Or find that walking helps you untangle a knotty problem.
Oh, tell me about it. I swear, I do my best thinking on a good hike.
Yeah.
Is there actual science behind that, or am I just easily distracted by squirrels?
You're onto something.
Okay.
Our brains are wired to find nature inherently soothing.
Okay.
It's like a mental massage compared to the overstimulation of, say, a busy city street.
Yeah.
And because of that, our brains don't have to work as hard to process what's going on around us.
Interesting.
It frees up mental resources for other things.
Yeah, okay.
Creativity, problem solving, you name it.
Okay, that makes so much sense. But not all of us can be frolicking in a forest all day.
Right.
What about those of us stuck in offices or apartments?
Yeah.
Any hope for our poor, nature-deprived brains?
Absolutely. That's where biophilic design comes in.
Bio what?
Biophilic design.
Okay.
It's this amazing approach that brings elements of nature indoors.
Okay.
Think natural light,
Okay.
plants, even just using natural materials like wood and stone in building design.
So, like, instead of a sterile, white-walled office, I could have a sunny room filled with plants. Sign me up.
Exactly.
But does it really make a difference, or is it just about aesthetics?
It's more than just aesthetics, though that's a nice bonus.
Right.
Studies show that even brief exposures to biophilic elements, as little as 5 minutes, can lead to improvements in mood, a decrease in stress levels, and even a boost in short-term memory.
Wow. 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's less time than it takes me to pick a podcast episode to listen to.
Right.
I'm sold. Yeah. But let's shift gears here. It's not just our external environment, right?
Right.
Our internal sensations play a role, too.
They do.
And that's where interoception comes in.
Yes.
I gotta admit, this one kind of blew my mind.
It's pretty remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Think of it as tuning into the sensations inside your own body.
Okay.
Your heartbeat, your breath.
Right.
Even those gut feelings we often brush off.
Right.
People with strong interoception are often incredibly good at making decisions under pressure.
Right.
Their gut is giving them accurate info.
That's wild. So it's not just some woo-woo concept. There's real science behind it.
Yeah.
But how do you actually get better at it? Asking for a friend who may or may not have ignored their gut and bought those expensive concert tickets.
Well, mindfulness meditation is a great place to start.
Okay.
It trains your attention on those subtle internal signals we often miss.
Right.
And the more you practice, the better you become at recognizing those whispers of wisdom from your own body.
Oh, wow.
It's like anything else.
Right.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
It's like training your inner awareness muscle.
Exactly.
All right, before we move on, let's pause for a sec.
Okay.
What's resonating with you most so far about all this? Is it the movement piece? The nature link?
I think so.
Or something else entirely?
Yeah.
Take a moment to really think about it.
It's fascinating how we often overlook the simplest things.
All right.
We're so used to searching for complex solutions.
Right.
That we forget the power of a good walk or simply paying attention to our own bodies.
Absolutely. Okay, now that we've covered the basics of how our environment, both internal and external, impacts our thinking.
Right.
Let's get into some seriously cool strategies for actually putting this into practice.
Okay.
Remember that method of loci we talked about in the pre-show notes?
Yes.
Let's dive into that one next. It's a personal favorite.
Ah, yes, the method of loci. It's like a superpower for your memory. It takes advantage of how our brains are wired to link information with specific locations.
Okay, I've been geeking out about this one ever since you mentioned it.
Really?
It's like those memory champions who can memorize decks of cards in seconds.
Yeah.
Are they seriously using this method?
They do. They create these elaborate mental maps.
Oh, wow.
Often using a familiar place like their childhood home, and place each piece of information they need to remember in a different location.
Okay.
The more vivid and unusual the imagery, the better it sticks.
So it's like if I want to remember my grocery list, I could mentally walk through my apartment and imagine, say, a giant talking banana in my living room,
Right.
a stack of eggs doing a conga line in my bedroom.
Exactly.
Awesome.
The more absurd and memorable, the better.
Okay.
And the best part,
What?
it's not just for memory champions.
Okay.
Neuroscientist Martin Dressler did this study, where he trained ordinary people to use this method, and their ability to recall information more than doubled after just 6 weeks.
Okay, I am definitely trying this.
You should.
But moving beyond memory palaces, I'm curious about the tools we use in our thinking. We're surrounded by tech these days.
Right.
Surely our devices play a role in all of this, right?
They certainly can.
Yeah.
Though sometimes the simplest tools are the most effective.
Right.
Think of someone like Charles Darwin. He developed his groundbreaking theory of evolution using nothing more than a pencil and a notebook.
There's something so satisfying about putting pen to paper, isn't there?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I remember things better when I write them down by hand.
There's a reason for that.
Okay.
Engaging in activities like drawing or note-taking by hand requires our brains to process information differently than when we're typing on a keyboard.
Right.
It's slower, more deliberate.
Okay.
And that seems to make it stick better.
It's like our brains are saying, hey, they're really putting effort into this. We better pay attention.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's not just note-taking. Architects, for example, often use physical models to think through complex designs.
Yeah.
The act of building and manipulating something tangible can spark insights that might not emerge from staring at a screen.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So it's not about ditching technology altogether, but about finding the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
Sometimes that's a notebook.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a 3D model.
Right.
And sometimes it's another person.
Yes.
Speaking of which, let's talk about the social side of thinking.
Okay.
We're social creatures after all.
Right.
So how does that impact our brain power?
You've hit on a crucial point.
Have I?
Our social interactions are fundamental to how we learn and solve problems. It's not just about brainstorming or collaborating on a project.
Right.
But even the simple act of explaining something to someone else.
Oh, you mean like when I try to explain a complex concept to my dog and pretend he understands? Kidding.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Okay.
But you're right. I do feel like I understand things better when I can explain them clearly to someone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When we teach, we're forced to organize our thoughts.
Right.
Identify gaps in our knowledge, and find ways to make things clear and engaging.
Right.
It deepens our own understanding in the process.
It's like we're creating a mental map for someone else to follow.
Yes.
And in doing so, we strengthen our own internal pathways.
Exactly.
So teaching is one thing.
Right.
But what about just casual conversation?
Casual conversation is incredibly valuable, too.
Yeah.
Think about those times when you've had a really stimulating conversation. Your brain feels energized.
Right.
That's because those back-and-forth exchanges, especially when they involve diverse perspectives, challenge our assumptions and force us to think critically.
And sometimes those conversations can even lead to arguments.
Right.
Not that I'm advocating for constant bickering.
No.
But I've definitely had some heated debates that have made me rethink my own positions.
There's a term for that.
Is there?
Constructive controversy. Constructive controversy.
Okay.
It's not about attacking each other or trying to win the argument, but about genuinely trying to understand different viewpoints and reach a deeper understanding together.
Okay, so how do we make sure our arguments are the constructive kind? Any tips?
It's all about approaching the conversation with curiosity rather than judgment.
Okay.
Focus on really listening to the other person's perspective.
Right.
Asking clarifying questions. And being open to the possibility that you might learn something new.
Yeah.
It can be tough.
It can.
Especially when we feel strongly about something.
Right.
But the rewards can be huge.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that none of us have all the answers.
Right.
And that by engaging in thoughtful debate, we can all expand our understanding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is especially important when it comes to group thinking.
Okay.
Which can be incredibly powerful when done right.
Group thinking.
Yeah.
That's where things get really interesting.
Right.
It's like that saying, 2 heads are better than 1. But is it actually true? I've definitely been part of some group projects that felt more like a recipe for disaster than anything else.
Ah, yes. The dreaded group project experience.
Right.
You're right. Groups can be amazing.
Yeah.
But they can also be incredibly challenging.
Right.
It's not as simple as just throwing a bunch of smart people in a room and hoping for the best.
So what's the secret sauce? What makes some groups truly intelligent and others, well, not so much?
Right.
I'm ready to unlock the secrets of group genius.
Okay.
Okay, spill the secrets.
Yeah.
How do we go from group project gone wrong to collective genius?
Well, one key ingredient is something we've touched on already.
Okay.
Is psychological safety.
Right.
If people don't feel comfortable sharing their ideas,
Yeah.
even the weird ones,
Right.
you're missing out on that creative friction.
It's like you need that space where it's okay to be wrong.
Yes.
To experiment, to bounce ideas off each other without fear of judgment, or as everyone just clams up.
Precisely. And beyond that,
yeah,
shared goals are crucial.
Okay.
When everyone is clear on the objective
Right.
and invested in the outcome, it's amazing how much more effectively a group can work.
It's like that sense of purpose fuels the collaboration, right?
Yes.
Everyone's pulling in the same direction instead of off on their own tangents.
Exactly. And this might sound surprising,
Okay.
but even things like physical synchrony can play a role.
Really?
Think about dancers moving together.
Okay.
Or a rowing team perfectly in sync.
Right.
Those shared movements actually create a sense of unity and shared purpose, which can then spill over into the cognitive realm.
Wow, that's wild. So it's not just about what's happening in our heads, but also how our bodies are interacting with each other.
Precisely. And this brings us to one of the most intriguing aspects of extended cognition.
Okay.
The idea of a group mind.
Okay.
Now, before you think we've gone full science fiction,
Right.
it's not about a hive mind or anything like that.
Okay.
It's more about how, under the right conditions,
Yeah.
a group can exhibit a kind of intelligence that's greater than the sum of its parts.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what are those right conditions? How do we actually cultivate this group mind thing?
Well, we've talked about psychological safety and shared goals.
Right.
But beyond that,
Yeah.
fostering open communication is essential.
Okay.
Encourage active listening, respectful debate,
Right.
and a willingness to challenge assumptions.
Okay.
And don't underestimate the power of visual aids.
Oh, right.
Something as simple as a shared whiteboard can help a group visualize their thinking and make connections they might not have seen otherwise.
So it's like we're externalizing the thought process?
Yes.
Making it something everyone can see and interact with?
Exactly. And that can lead to those aha moments where the group as a whole arrives at a deeper understanding than any individual could have achieved alone.
This has been such a mind-bending deep dive.
It has.
We've covered so much ground.
We have.
From the power of movement and nature to the secrets of group genius.
Yeah.
As we wrap things up,
Okay.
Is there one key takeaway you'd want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the most important takeaway is this.
Okay.
Your mind is not confined to the space between your ears.
Oh, wow.
It extends outwards, encompassing your body, your surroundings, the tools you use, and the people you interact with.
Okay.
Embrace that interconnectedness.
It's like we've been given this incredible superpower.
Yeah.
This ability to extend our minds beyond our own limitations.
Yes.
But we have to actively use it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So walk, talk, listen, experiment, collaborate.
I like it.
Don't be afraid to think outside the brain in a jar.
Love it. And as for our listener.
Yes.
Think back to that moment earlier when you considered what resonated most with you about extended cognition.
Right.
Now ask yourself, what's one small change you can make in your own life starting today to put this into practice?
Until next time, happy thinking.